Hey, everybody, welcome to 2218's Attitude for Gratitude. This is Tad, and you know I'm hanging out with my best friend,
Timmy J.
Hey, how you doing today?
I'm good, a little bit good.
You're fantastic. Do you want me to cut the promo?
You cut the promo, please.
So, in case you're wondering, Timmy had some dental surgery, and they ordered the wrong dentures, so just bear with him today. All that in mind, I hope everyone's doing well on this lovely Friday. 2218 is the place that lets us do this podcast, the world's oldest and longest continually running Alno Club.
Yeah.
If you ever want to support 2218, donations are welcome. Check out their website, check out their Facebook. And Matthew, our intern, I don't know why I called him an intern. Anyways, the guy that is Elena's assistant, I don't know, he doesn't have a title. He's Matt. He does all the stuff. Yeah, he could be a co-producer. He just got a promotion today because I called him an intern. Congratulations, Matt. Yeah, we're all getting promotions. Anyways, he's gonna post the links. Hey man, I'm just so glad that you tuned in. We got some lovely guests today. You know, I'm trying to check in with Timmy, but he's doing pizza stuff. So, hey man, what's been?
What I was gonna say after you cut that promo was, I want to hear about your week. You had a huge week.
Because I was gone for a month?
And you've been gone for a month. Welcome back, Ted. I want to hear all about your week. Like, you had a very amazing week and a few past weeks, and I know a lot of it has to do with your recovery, being able that you had this growth. So if you could, tell us about it.
You're talking about the Bar Olympics my company hosted? No.
Absolutely not.
I know. We got second place, man. But so what Timmy's talking about is, so I've been managing a sober house for a little while now, and I'm moving on. I'm done. I'm done at the sober house. I gave my month notice. I got a house.
Congrats, bud.
So me and my girlfriend will be moving into a house. We sign our lease on Monday, and I'll be slowly moving in over the next month. We'll get her moved in this week, and you know, me and the cat and my girlfriend will be moving in. And this, I don't know, it's cool.
Is this the first time legally you've had your own
that
place?
I've had an own place, and it's the first time I've ever been on a lease anywhere. So that's never been a thing. So you know, that's cool. That's adult stuff, and that's what we do.
Yeah.
When you're a productive member of society, you do adult stuff. And I was in a meeting, and I was just sharing about that. And you know, I can say a lot of things have come true for me. The promises, and it's not all like material stuff. Right. And I talked a lot about that. And I've talked ad nauseum a lot. Like, you know, I have a podcast. That was the thing that I wanted to do. I wanted to be on the board. I wanted my own place. I'm doing all these things. I have a job that affords me to do these things, and something I love doing. I never thought I'd work in the bar and nightclub industry ever. Ever. Even it wouldn't have worked when I wasn't clean. And, you know, this job, a friend of mine got me the job, and I do that. And I bounce, and I do a couple other things. I kind of do everything. I'm like utility guy there, just like I am everywhere. But, you know, I wouldn't be able to have this job if I wasn't sober, because I'd be stealing their booze. I'd be showing up late. I'd be assaulting people. It wouldn't be good. And, you know, so like finding stuff, and like a lot of times I just talk to people, and, you know, when I came into that job, I used to try and tell everybody, actually, I'm in recovery, as they're drunk and trying to talk to me.
Right.
And like 12-step drunk people. And, you know, it wasn't great, and no one cares. And then I'd be the guy, the only security guy that no one would talk to, because I was a recovery
I don't want to hear about recovery.
Right. As you're getting blasted. Imagine Tad there talking about recovery as you're getting
have
blasted.
a drink and rip a fatty. Leave me
At a
alone.
nightclub. Right. So, you know, but, you know, and it's been cool. I've learned a lot of things at the job, you know, that have helped me, and some of them I've taken from here, the Alno Club, I mean, and from, you know, so in my life, I'm a sober house manager. I'm our security guy here at the club. So I do a lot of de-escalation. I do security at a nightclub. So everywhere I go, I have to de-escalate. I get to, and I have answers to problems. And I'll say I get to, but I have to be the bigger person. Really, I do.
Yeah, it's your job.
If I'm not in every situation, sober house, all three jobs, you know, the volunteer one, the sober house one. So it's going to be nice to finally move on. I felt like I've given all I can to the sober house, and I've trained two great replacements, and I still get to be involved.
Right. When you were
so
telling me that, I didn't realize you were
to
still going to get to be
move
involved.
out of the sober house and them tell me that I did such a good job that now I'm going to do some management and administrative stuff, train all the managers so that they have a platform to help write policy and do stuff in emergencies and continue to do the tours, which I've done and now get paid decent for that. In addition, I've never had anyone, when I've left somewhere, no one ever asked me to come
Right. You
back.
didn't burn a bridge. That was the 1st
Don't
thing I
come
asked
back,
you out
and we
there.
never want
Yeah.
to see your face again.
Right.
You know, for like 2 years till we feel sorry for you. That's kind of been my story, because I never left good. But at this point, you know, in my life, because of recovery, I leave places better than most of the time, better than I found them, and at least that's what I try. It's
Right.
not always the case. You know, you never know. The world happens,
Right.
and like I said, when I got into being the sober house manager, I didn't do it at an easy time either, Timmy.
No,
You know,
I know.
all of a sudden I went from being in New Way, having everything paid for and being on government assistance to boom, the sober house manager got fired. I'm the manager overnight, and I now have to find work. I'm graduating treatment, and boom, we're in a pandemic, and boom, my block is on fire and it's dangerous. So
Yeah, no shit. You were right in the middle of all the riots.
yeah, we were in the middle of the riots, so it was, and I was up here doing the COVID stuff, helping 2218 stay open. It was, and no one had ever done any of this stuff, and you know, founded a couple meetings with the help of people like you, Rob, and a couple other people, and it was an interesting time, and I learned a lot from that. And you know, that's not to say I didn't make a lot of mistakes.
But a lot of that, all like in this, I know you kind of gave a synopsis, kind of an attitude for gratitude, catch up timeline type deal for people that haven't listened quite a bit. So, like in this last week with you, I hear someone's phone.
Sorry.
Oh, turn that down.
It's fine. What were you saying, Tim?
In the last week or two, like these things that have been happening in your life, that's what I was bugging you about, like how recovery plays a part. Like we just talk barely because we don't see each other as much. Like credit is on the rise. Like you made a financial decision to basically
my one credit
get
card
flush.
Yeah.
And now you're also taking this step with someone you're building a relationship with to go do something that you've never done. Well, maybe way back, but like this is the start of a new life type deal, and you're
I
doing
either
it all
moved in with
clean in the
people or
right
gave
way.
them money and it was in their name, or
Right,
lived
yeah,
like
yeah.
people. I never did anything the right way.
Like you're doing the adult responsible stuff, and like I just want like the audience to hear like that shit's possible. It took some
yeah.
work, but you did it.
Oh yeah. If I can do it, anyone can do it.
Yeah, that's what we would like to say a lot, and a lot of times when you hear it, you don't believe it, but
If I can,
truth.
if I can calmly de-escalate people who say they're going to do bad things to my mom and swing on me and still be calm, anyone can do anything.
right.
Because I was a hot-headed person.
Well, yeah.
very-
What was it? 35 plus assaults.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Who's counting? Except
Yeah.
for the state. But, you know, now I get late laughs. I was waiting for laughs on that one. But yeah, I mean, so hey, also, before I check in with Timmy, because I'm going to flip that script and check in with him. Hey, man, Matt, Elena, myself, and Tim all put our numbers down. If you need to reach out for anything or anyone is interested in being on the show, has ideas for the show, or any way they can contribute, hit one of us up. This is an interactive show, so if you're watching and you have questions for our guests, put them on the comment section. And if you're not watching on 2218's Attitude for Gratitude site, we're not going to get the questions.
No. But
or
you
the
can reach
YouTube
out to us
channels.
personally with
But
questions if you don't want.
You can text one of those numbers, and also adversely, if you don't want your name flashing like I'm Bill W. and I have this question, you don't want everyone to see it, you can just text me, Matt, Elena, or Tim, and we will read the question on air, and we won't say your name.
Right.
So that being said, like I said, share this, like this.
Make it your show.
Yeah, make it your show. Tell us how we can improve. Tell your mom, tell your grandma, tell your brother, tell a friend you think this show could help. With all that being said, Timmy, how you doing?
Good. And speaking of what you just said, like I got a piece of good news for the show itself. I've had this dental work going on. Last Friday I came to the show. I sound a little better than them because I've gotten used to talking with no teeth. But my dentist, like, you know, when you're sitting in a dentist chair, they've got like this skill to understand you when you have hoses and like drills and stuff in your mouth, and they ask you questions and you answer all blah, 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 and they understand. So whatever small talk that you do in the dentist chair, I was telling her about our podcast probably 6-7 months ago. I was explaining, I do a recovery podcast show, and it's more or less a networking thing, and anyone who needs help, you can get on here and reach out in the comment section or reach out personally. Yep. Well, I'm happy to say that she was able to share this with someone close in her life whose child has been going through it. Oh, yeah. And some networking through the questions on here, they connected, and she's now in treatment.
That's one of the reasons the show was created.
And stays going. Just like that suicide letter, like that's what I want to share about for this week.
Be helpful, to spread awareness, and to have fun.
Yeah. And I got firsthand information that's what is occurring. So like just take anyone listening, like use that. You can reach out on here and reach out to one of us personally. If you're not listening to it live, go back to our phone numbers. Reach out to us if you need information for your friends, daughters, boyfriend, whatever the case. Reach out.
I want to make one other thing clear too, that just because Tim or I have an opinion, that's not the only way. We're not the gatekeepers of recovery.
Absolutely not.
Nor does any of us think that way.
No.
There is no one size fits all for how to get better.
Right.
Because not all of us got sick the same way. So
why were you going to think we get
right?
Yeah.
If
recovery's taught me anything, it's that there's multiple ways to a finish line.
Yeah.
There's so many different ways, whether it's spiritual or meetings or just
and if it works for you, then God dang it, work it.
Ken was on here just preaching. Have your own experience. I can't have an experience for you. You can't have one for me. Make your own experience. Like, get outside yourself. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Part about making your own experiences, if it's yours, then no one can freaking take it away from
or
you
tell you
it's yours.
Yeah, it's yours. So other than that, that's what I wanted to check in about. I'm still dealing with some mouth stuff. Next Friday, I'm maybe gonna have this completed. Here, bro, catch. Other than that, like, I have never said, I dedicate a show or anything, but you know what? I dedicate this show to my brother. Today's his birthday. He's not with us anymore, and I just dedicate this to my brother Adam. What great show we're gonna have.
You beat me to it.
I know.
I was gonna say, before we get to self-love with Elena, in going along with what Tim said, we are going to take a moment of silence, something you don't traditionally do, and not on air. So it's only going to be 5. For everyone who's ever been lost is going to be lost, and everyone's suffering from the disease of addiction or anything else. I'm going to say a couple words, and we're going to get on with the show. So this show is in honor of Tim's brother and anyone else. And if you are struggling, suicide, addiction, and you need help, please reach out. And thank you. With that,
you're not alone and you're loved.
You're not alone and you are loved. And now it is time for the show. That very special,
I'll have the
sensitive part of the show, the one and only Self-Love with Elena. Yeah! Elena!
Get it, girl.
This is the part of the show where we try to lock these guys in the closet. I'm
never coming out of the closet.
Damn it, Tim.
All right. So hello, everyone. So I wasn't sure what I was going to talk about this week, but I like when it comes to the self-love thing, I like to kind of talk about personal things too. So this week I'm going to talk about something a little personal that I've talked about on the show before. So in recovery, we have things that happen to us and we have things that we go through. And one of the things is relationships. We have problems with relationships, whether it be with our friends, whether it be with relationships with a significant other, whether it be with whatever. As a lot of people know that have listened to this show, I recently, within the last couple months, have ended a relationship with someone for my better good of my recovery, for me. Like, I've made those decisions for myself so that way I can do better in my recovery, so I can do better for my kids, so that way I can be a better person, because I knew deep down that it wasn't a good situation for myself. And through that, I have been getting messages lately, and I'm not afraid to talk about this. I've been getting messages lately where I'm told that I'm not good enough, where I'm told that I'm a bad person, where I'm told that I'm the villain because I'm the bad person for leaving this person. Like, but that's not something that I take to heart, because I needed to do these things for myself. So, and it might sound really bad the way that I'm going to say this, but I still go to sleep at night with a clear conscience with this, because I know that I did something good for myself because of the recovery that I have. I know that I'm still going to be okay because I'm still sober. The whole point of this life journey that I'm on right now is to stay sober and to stay clean and to continue to be able to have the happy life that I want. And if I can't have that life with the person that I'm with, then what is the point of continuing this? So I just want to remind everybody that you are loved and you are worth it, no matter what anybody says. Do not let somebody tell you that you're not worth it, because you are. And I just want to tell everybody that it's been a great week and I missed you all. So with that said, we are not going to listen to the harps. With that said, we are going to begin our show here.
And that was Self-Love with Elena. Thank you,
So
Elena.
yes, that's what I have.
Hey,
this
man.
week.
It's never a bad decision or a bad choice to invest in yourself.
No, it's not. You should always invest in yourself. If you don't invest in yourself,
Who's gonna?
How can and how can you even give yourself to anyone if you don't invest in yourself? Stop it.
Yeah, he's a little late on the heart music. We're already done with the segment. We're moving on
The
with the
segment's
show.
over.
Yeah. Hey,
Please forgive Tim. He's a little old. It takes him time.
do our guests want to
Whoa.
Yeah, that's true. Do our guests want to introduce themselves?
Sure. I'm Liz. I'm an alcoholic.
Hi,
Hey, Liz. You can say whatever you want. You don't have to say that you're an
whatever you want.
alcoholic or addict.
I didn't. I'm Candace, and I'm also an alcoholic.
Also an
Candace.
alcoholic. Hi. Hey, should we chop it up?
Yeah, let's chop it
Let's
up.
chop it up.
Oh my gosh.
What do you guys want to talk about?
We can talk about anything.
Well,
I need. Some
this is your
guidance.
show. You're directing the show. You're the main host, Elena. So
I already got a personal
I'm
Host.
the main host.
yes,
So you already have a personal question?
I'm your sidekick today.
So I do want to talk about something really quick, because my good friend Candace here just celebrated 2 years of recovery.
Yeah.
Too continuous.
Too
years.
continuous.
Continuous.
How'd you do that?
She has been going at this for
I have no
quite
idea.
a while.
2 continuous years of, and I sent her a message the other day because I'm so sad that I missed it. Because I missed that. Were you there?
Oh,
So
yeah.
I missed it, and I sent her a message on how much I have noticed that she's just glowing these last 2 years, and you see how much has changed in the last 2 years compared to before. Like, you would come into the meetings and you would just be so quiet, and you would be sad because you would still be thinking about the drinking, and now you talk about going to a wedding and you just walk right past it like whatever. You don't even care anymore. You don't even care anymore, and I flippin' love it.
Well, I would say it's not so much not caring. I don't obsess and
Yeah.
think about it. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's this program.
program's awesome.
Yes.
It's completely awesome.
Yeah.
How else did you do it?
Well, Liz over here helps. I mean, I know it can be tough for people sometimes that weren't necessarily surrounded by alcoholics, or maybe they were, but they weren't actual real friends. You know, they were drinking friends. Well, we are alcoholics together, using and not best friends. So I think that's a big thing. Sponsors, meetings, just self-awareness. The big thing is, like, I must have been ready and I didn't even know it. Like, I've relapsed so many times that I'm always just like, oh, here we go again, here we go again, here we go again. Like, how long this time? And I just put the day by day together, I guess. And eventually it just stopped becoming so much of an obsession. One of a guy that goes to one of our meetings on Saturday said to Liz and I the other day, yeah, I remember I used to talk about you and say, that girl has the most 90 days of anyone I've ever seen. And I said, 90 days? I rarely got those. Maybe like 24 hours and 30 days, but 90, no, those were very rare. So I just thought that was funny.
I got a quick question for you.
Yeah.
Did your journey start at? I just heard you say there was multiple relapses, but this most current one, did it just start with you coming back to the rooms, or did you go to a treatment, inpatient, outpatient? What was your story about like that?
No, I did not. I haven't been to treatment since. So I've been 6 times, 3 inpatient, 3 out, but they were all. The last one was while I was pregnant, so 2016. So it's 2016.
So then, I guess the other question is, I know you said you just kept coming back, and do you think it's just one of those deals? Like I always share it with people and say, like, just keep coming back. Like, don't leave before the miracle happens. From you, just keep coming back. Is that what eventually happened? Like something stuck? Can you pinpoint it now? I know a lot of times we're like, we don't need to care why. We're just glad we're at where we're at now. But could you pinpoint what the difference was, or why you were able to be at the point of getting 2 years now? And if so, elaborate.
I honestly, I don't, and I just think it's readiness, honestly, like, and being honest, like, about everything, not just about whether I'm drinking or not. Because even if you do, like, these little white lies, like, we all do white lies, but like, I know. It's not if I get caught or not, I catch myself, like, and that's the same thing with drinking. Like, when I would think people didn't know because I was so good at hiding it. No.
Vodka doesn't smell either.
No.
That's what we tell ourselves too.
Yeah. That, and like Elena had just said, like, you can go to bed and I can sleep and I don't have my mind racing and I don't have anxiety and sometimes I still get anxiety, but it's not the same. It's not that drinking and not remembering what you did and said and, oh, she failed again and family members disappointed. Who knows what I did? Who doesn't? Like, it's just when you know you're sober, you don't have to worry about those things.
Right.
Like, you just are who you are. Liz had said something last week about you can't like pull wool over me or whatever because I remember things now. Like,
Right.
And I have for 2 years. And sorry, you can't
I don't want to dwell on like, oh, why did it happen? But I know a lot of family members who might be listening, which I know are wondering, like, people in their own life. So would this be a correct statement? And if so, like, it kind of explain how it was for you. But, and I think you did touch on it, but was it just you were finally, I don't want to say surrender, but you're ready to just be like, all right, I give up. I'll do whatever? Or like that moment, was there that like a change of thinking, or what? Like, you see what I'm getting at, right?
Yeah.
Like, what was that change? Was it you finally saying, okay, I'm done? Or like really truly giving, I don't want to say give up, because that's so bad
There
the
really
way that's
wasn't.
worded.
Like, I can't pinpoint that. No.
Days just started adding up and
yeah, I got a new sponsor, but I relapsed once with her while I was working with her, like within the first 30 days. But I had great sponsors before, so I don't, no.
I think you can have a great sponsor, and it may just be that for whatever reason you're not hearing what they have to say any longer, or it's not resonating with you. I feel like sometimes having a sponsor is like dating, where it's like, all right, I've heard your shit long enough. Like, it's not resonating with me. I need to hear somebody else.
Yeah.
And I've dealt with that just with having sponsees. They've all relapsed. They're all not with me anymore. But it's definitely hearing someone else's story. So like where Candace's story is a few relapses and a couple sponsors, I've had continuous sobriety and one sponsor. So everybody's journey looks so different, but it's where we're going on our journey. It's the same road. We all want to be sober. We all want to live a life of recovery. We all want to live.
Absolutely. I think you could also akin it to like a therapist. There could be the best therapist in the world that everyone said they could not be the right therapist for me. Like you have to have a mix. So and like everyone sponsors a little differently and everyone is a little different. So it would make sense that there's not one size fits all for sponsor. And maybe we're not in the right place either because I've had some great sponsors. Jason, he's been on the show several times. You know, he's a third generation from Bill W. So some people think his shit's great, and it is. But he tried for 13 years to help get me sober, to no avail. And it was when he backed off, and I kind of, I had to be beaten into a pulp.
But no, here's a question I have for all three of you, including you. No, this goes for you too with what you just said was, now, do you think where you're at now, you got some longer term sobriety? Same with you.
She's got almost 4 years.
4 years. Today is, I don't do math very well. Today's 3 years and 11 months.
Woohoo!
Yeah!
Thanks.
So here's my question. With the growth that you had over this time of your recovery, I know it's a mute point, but like Ted, you go back to Jason today and he starts working the book with you. You go back to one of your first sponsors, Do you think it'd be different now that your mind, that your psychic is different now?
I have.
And?
I have gone back. So, like, when I talked about it on the show at length, when I went insane for a minute after I got hit by a car and then I quit.
Yeah.
My friend died in a car accident. I quit my conscious contact. And then a car almost hit. So, 1 week, my buddy died in a motorcycle accident. A week later, I was smoked by a car. And I have past trauma too. That my ex-wife hit me with the car, and I was almost crippled. It was a bad deal. Anyway, that's how I ended my first long-term recovery. And so the following week, the third week, a guy almost hit me with a car, and I yanked him out of his car. And I got scared because that was the first time that I ever thought I could be violent like that, sober. Those were using behaviors, and it really scared the shit out of me. And one thing that I noticed was that I had blocked off conscious contact. But I called Jason. Scared out of my mind, and I told him that. He said, well, yeah, you're scared. Why else would you be calling me? And he's like, so meet me tonight. And like, but he told me to be alone and pray and inventory and the stuff that he had been telling me for years.
That you weren't hearing.
I knew he was going to say that. I could quote him. Okay, did you inventory? Where is this? What's your part in this? And stuff like that. Basic, back to the basics AA stuff. And I was more receptive to it, and it felt fine just to talk to him and for him to listen. And like I started talking to him regularly again when Jason died, and I've been talking to him, and in my inventory I found out that since Jason died I cut my conscious contact off with God, and I went crazy for 2 weeks, to a point where it led me down to places where I had only ever been to using. And it really, the old adage that using was a frickin' symptom of it was my solution. It was just a symptom of what was going on with me. All that shit was me and my sickness. But using is just a symptom of it, because I've done all the stuff that I blamed on using. From fighting to being crappy to talking to people to all that. I've done that all sober now. And it's when I'm not spiritually fit or working these 12 principles to the best of my ability, because no one works them perfect, ever.
So then, I guess, and now to the both of you, like if you were to go back to one of your sponsors that just didn't work out, or God, how did you put it? You weren't
receptive.
Receptive. Do you think going back to one of them now you could be receptive, or you would be just because the psychic changes occurred, or what's your guys' thoughts on that?
So for me, I've only had one sponsor. That said, in year 2 of my recovery, I was a part of a committee, and I had a real strong personality conflict with somebody, and it was somebody in AA, and the whole personalities or principles before personalities came into effect, and I had never reached out to my sponsor so much more at that period of time, and I said, I need to do something. And we hadn't really worked together in a while. It was more just, let's check in occasionally. How are you doing? I might see you at a meeting. And I said, I have to do something different. And so we started reading the 12 by 12. And then from there, we went on to a different book. And now we've read Drop the Rock.
Nice.
We've read The Ripple Effect. We've done Back to Basics. We're reading, I don't even remember her, and hopefully she's not listening. We're reading a different book right now, but it's breaking down the big book for us. And so for me, I have to keep learning. I have to keep going back because there's a reason that step 12 is in there, right? Like it forces us to go back through the steps continuously. It's like a joke from Bill W. It's like, haha, just kidding. Now you got to do it again. And there's periods in our life where things are different. I mean, when I first got sober, the first 9 months, I didn't have a job.
Right.
Thankfully I didn't lose my home. I didn't lose my vehicle, that type of stuff. But I lost a lot emotionally. And today I'm different. Like I'm blessed with all of the things in my life, but guess what? People still suck ass.
That's my girl. Yeah.
And so I
Speaking
still have
truth.
to take my daily inventory, and I still got to talk to God even when I don't want to. But it's so for me and working with the only sponsor I've had in these 4 years, I have to do something different, and I have to go back to basics with her.
Back to the basics. We had someone on here, whatever. So, thank you for that. That was insightful. How do you feel about that? If you were to go back to one of your many previous sponsors, like, do you think you'd be receptive or be able to hear a different message or find some type of help through a previous sponsor that didn't work out for you?
So it happens to be that this person that Liz had a personality conflict with on her committee.
It was you.
No, it was my first sponsor.
Wow. Okay.
Just so happy.
So, and I know there's different ways to sponsor and different ways to relay the message and different ways to go through the book and different ways to work the steps. And for me, I relate better to someone that's not, doesn't just, I like to talk about like more life experiences and like obviously the promises and things, but not like pushing God so much. I believe in God, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
He's my higher power and everything, but like just talking about God this, like that, that doesn't, I don't, like, I guess I wasn't successful. And that's not the reason I was successful. I just relate to working the steps and talking and whatnot, I guess, more like daily living in life. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So,
I think it's more of like putting it into effect in your daily life
Yeah.
versus putting it all in somebody else's hands because
yes.
you like to control things.
Yes.
Uh-huh. And so I feel like with you relating it to real life experience and things that we're currently going through versus just, I'm going to let Jesus take the wheel,
Yeah.
right? And try that going down 94 at 65 miles an hour.
Right.
He's not going to really take the wheel.
No.
Like,
Right.
as much as we might want him to. 'Cause
Elena, sorry, because what?
we're tired.
We're tired. Sick and tired of being sick and tired. I
No,
just
we're
like
not
saying that.
anymore.
Elena, what's your thoughts on that? On going back to a previous sponsor once you've got a little bit of clean time under your belt? Do you think you're able to hear get something more out of something you weren't able to in the past? I think it's a common sense question, but I just want your take on it.
Yeah, I still actually talk to one of my old sponsors from 15, 16 years ago, off and on. We connect through Facebook. Every once in a while, I'll just hit her up or she'll send me a message just to see how I'm doing. But we've kind of just separated paths from when I went back out using again. But then I ended up getting a new sponsor. But if I needed to talk to her, if I needed to get some advice, I would take her advice. Absolutely. Because it doesn't even matter to me if it's a sponsor.
It's just anyone who's got a message.
The way that I've grown in this recovery now, if you have something to share with me about recovery and how it works, I'm going to listen to what you have to say.
And then make the choice on your own if you want to apply it or what have you.
If it works for me, then I'm going to use it. If it doesn't, then I'm going to pass it off and I'm going to just move on to the next. Like, I got to find a way to make recovery work for me at all costs. So if I try 10 different things and 7 of them work, then that's 7 new things for me to try.
Right. Only something to add to your toolbox.
Yep.
So I've got a question that I got via text for the guest is thoughts on sponsorship. I know we've kind of been talking a lot about it, but how important is a sponsor and what does a sponsor mean to you?
So when I first came into the rooms, Candace actually brought me to one of my first meetings and didn't really give me much of an opportunity to not talk to the person that I asked to be my sponsor. And it definitely was a God moment that she was there at that meeting because she hadn't been there in months. And Candace was like, I really think you just need to go talk to her and say hi and just see what she has to say. And I am so, so grateful for this woman and how her sponsor taught her to work her program because that's how she taught me. And she has been successful. She's 10 years younger than me and she has 12 years of sobriety. And I am sitting here with almost 4 years of nearly continuous sobriety. And I am just so grateful. I'm so grateful for her. I know that I have to give this away if I want to keep it. And I've struggled with having sponsees, which can make me not feel like I'm doing something great. But then in the book, it says, okay, but are you still sober at the end of the day?
That's a good one.
And so I know that sharing my experience, strength, and hope with somebody is what I'm supposed to do in order to keep my recovery, to keep my sobriety, and hope that they find their path. And I will continue to raise my hand in meetings. And I think COVID too was really tough. I do think that with going to online meetings only for a while and even people sprinkling back into the rooms, it was a lot of the same people, but then we started getting more newcomers. And now I think we're getting back to a good place where they're coming continuously, which is awesome, obviously. And I'm just hoping that when God puts that right person in front of me, that I will open my eyes and realize that that's what I'm supposed to do. But in the meantime, I'm just going to keep coming back. But I mean, I couldn't do this without the help of my sponsor.
So follow up to what you were saying, and then I'm gonna hop back to you on that same question. Is a follow up to something that you said while saying that is you had a tough time with sponsees. Was that just in general, or was it from having sponsees, which I think you mentioned earlier, that didn't work out, that ended up not hearing a message or working steps or going back out and relapsing? What was the reason you had a problem with sponsees?
So all of the sponsees, all of the women that I've worked with have gone back out. And I feel like I learned more about myself in working with them because I learned to set boundaries. Where in my past relationships, I was just letting people walk all over me. And in this case, it was, Liz, do this for me. Liz, do this for me. Come pick me up from Forest Lake and drive me to Blaine and then drive me back and then pick me up for this. And at some point, I just had to get to a point where I was like, I can't let these people walk all over me anymore. Like, I can't.
I love that, and good for you. That's somewhere we all hope to get at some point. Good for you.
I'm not saying I'm perfect at it right now.
No one is,
But however, I know that was the lesson I was supposed to take from that. And I just got reached out to by a sponsee that I had, and we are meeting on Sunday. And she asked if she could make amends to me. She has 9 months of continuous sobriety right now. She has a sponsor. She is sponsoring women and said that she would like to make amends to me face to face. And that's huge. And I am definitely more than willing to listen to what she has to say, knowing that I've been in that position of having to save face and clean up my side of the street. So I'm definitely more than willing, and I obviously wish her the best, and I hope I see her at meetings.
So, like, also, then we could also follow that also up with saying something like, you're being on that journey of having some women that you've sponsored. Now you get to be part of someone's growth, whether it is someone making amends to you or being part of their resentment. Even like my sponsor used to say that if I'm not giving you some resentments, I'm not doing my job right. He was being funny, but like you get to see this growth now. You're gonna go see this person who's been growing, and I think this is just a blanket statement, but like this is one of the benefits of recovery. Like,
and I get to show her compassion and empathy and forgiveness.
Right.
And that's huge because there are some people in our lives that we make amends to that aren't willing to hear what we have to say, or it may be too late. And so the fact that I can show her that I'm, through working this program, like I have that ability to give that forgiveness and to be somebody that she can call if she needs to reach out to.
Right.
And something else that I've just learned through that is my sponsor is not my therapist. My sponsor is meant to walk me through the first 164 pages of the big book, and I go to her with those things. So I also have a therapist. I have a lot of people behind me that support me. It's basically an army of people. But just learning some of that stuff and not being people's punching bags.
but you created that army of people
I did.
by showing up and getting comfortable with being uncomfortable a lot of the times, correct? Like you had to get outside yourself and approach people and ask for numbers, and like it took work, correct?
It did. And it's not easy. I am sitting here on this podcast right now talking to all of you, even though I don't have any idea how many people are watching.
There's only there's
Don't tell me.
no there's like 1,800. That's it.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
great.
right.
Hi, Dad. No, I'm just kidding.
7 people. You're fine.
Okay, perfect. I don't even know what I was saying anymore. But
About the growth that you've
yeah.
been through. Like right now, you're talking on a podcast that hundreds of thousands are listening to, and it's not even bugging you.
There's more people in the 1010.
Yes.
but I know those. No, I'm just saying.
I asked you about you building this army of support, like,
Yes.
and what it took for you to build this army of support.
So it took something that has stuck out to me a lot in 2021 is that humility got me into this program, and being humble keeps me here. And
Write that down.
it's a good little nugget. So that I just remember that it's okay to ask for help. I mean, there are times when the phone is still 10,000 pounds.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong.
Thank
Or
you.
Even sending a text can feel like the weight of the world. And Candace and I have gone through this year. I've had some struggles personally, and I sat with them silent. And it's only been recently where I've actually been sharing how awful of a time I was having. And she was like, why didn't you tell me this? Like, I could have shared in this with you so that you didn't have to take it all on yourself, because the more we share what's going on with us, especially in hard times, you get to share that with somebody else and take some of that off of
Pain
you.
shared is
Just-
pain lessened.
Yeah, just like we share all of our happy times.
Yeah.
Well, if we share some of these struggles we're going through, you never know who may be struggling the same way
Right.
you are. And as long as we have somebody in our lives like that, like I'm to the point now where I need all the help I can get. I mean, I know I can't do this alone.
Right.
So I'm okay with my army.
No, that's awesome. Like, I got a couple more questions I want to ask you, but I need you to talk about sponsorship and how important that is to your recovery, what it's meant to you, what it's done for you.
So, I mean, I don't think that you can be actually in recovery and not be a dry drunk, but actual in recovery working the program without a sponsor. Again, my opinion. Because it's just like it was so confusing to me. I'm like, yeah, I can read this book, but yeah, what is on this page? But first of all, if I'm doing something on my own like that and I'm new into the program, I'm going to half-ass it, first of all. And I have no one to be accountable to not necessarily make sure I'm doing it right, but make sure I'm doing it thoroughly and beneficially and a way that's healing and productive versus just checking the box. Oh, I did this one. I read this. I did this. I did this, And it's just, I mean, I think I half-assed every single step I ever worked until this last time. even with great sponsors. Again, I think it just comes down to readiness, but I do 100% believe that you can't be truly, or I couldn't be truly working the program and have the sustained sobriety without a sponsor. As far as like sponsoring people, I've only had one and it didn't really work out. I still raise my hand every time. And I made a joke, I don't know, probably a year ago now that said, because they say, approach someone or talk to someone that you like and you want what they have. And I said, no one wants what I have, apparently. I must come off like, I don't know, but
Did you though? I'm kind of to cut in. Did you kind of take it personal at
Yes.
times? You do take it personal that no
Yes.
one's coming to
So
you for help.
ladies, if you like what she has, go to the 1010 at
Yes.
Blaine and
Tomorrow.
find her,
We'll be there.
stalk her, and she.
stalk her.
I'm just
Don't
kidding.
stalk her.
And get what she has. You can get yourself a great sponsor.
yeah.
Well, and one of the things that I was just going to say that was ironic was that last week when you got your 2-year medallion, your first sponsee got her 9 months
Yes.
with your previous sponsor.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah,
funny.
that's
It's a little incestual,
that's funny.
whatever.
And
However,
yeah.
that's just goes to show that
Yeah.
just because you don't hear it from one person doesn't mean you're not going to hear it from the next.
Or touch next.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
someone else might hear that. And I'm going to have Elena and Tad both answer this too, about the sponsorship question. But you were talking about, like, you made this joke about, people must not want what I have. That happened at a meeting.
Yes.
And then I cut you off because I wanted to hear something else. But keep going with that.
So, and I guess I just felt like, and I mean, got to me for a little bit. I mean, it's not like I think about it at night, but I mean, it is kind of like, because Liz was having all these people, like she had a freaking laundry list coming up to her, and I'm like, what the hell?
you
What's
think it
wrong
was
with
ego?
me?
Do you think
Yes.
it was ego?
Yes.
No, I'm just wondering. I've been in that spot. That's the only reason why I'm like related.
Well, now I have no one. So,
Well, and I'm the kind of person, like, I think black and white, and I try to, if there's a problem, I want to solve it. I don't want to talk about it for 5 years. I want to know why or solve it.
Right.
And so, but how am I going to find out why? So I had to let it go. Like, I'm not going to go
Right.
up to this person and say, why don't you ask me? Why didn't you?
I
Why'd
saw
you ask
go
her?
approach someone else. Why didn't you approach
Yeah.
me? But
And-
your insides are telling you this,
Yes.
right?
But that's how in this program you've learned to, sometimes you're just not going to know why. Like, I've had a friendship, one of my best friends that no longer talks to me, and I have no idea why.
Have you approached that person ever?
Not personally, but via text, via phone, yes. And
Huh.
I did not done anything, and I don't know. And it still like hurts. It's been like over a year now, and I don't get it. But due to this program, like I've tried. Like I don't know what else I can
You
do.
did your part.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing more for you to worry about with that.
And this
But
is
our
someone
heads-
I've been
our
friends
heads
with since
tell
high
different
school.
Story a lot of the times.
Mm-hmm.
So then, now no one's coming to you for sponsorship.
Well, this last week someone did.
Oh,
Ask me
tables
about
are
it.
turning already.
Yeah, and she did text me a couple times this week, but it had nothing to do with sponsorship. So she asked for my number for perhaps working together, and I said, okay, text me. We can see if we can, get a time to work out. And all she said was, are you going to the meeting? I said, yes. She's like, oh, I worked a long day today. And I said, cool.
Oh,
Like,
she wanted you to co-sign some bullshit.
I don't know.
Oh yeah, 100%. She wanted you to say, "Oh, I understand. I work along. Just go relax."
Yeah, I haven't any idea. Another thing I want to say, so this only sponsee that I've ever had who basically, I pretty much fired her because she was late every single time, sometimes by an hour, and I just couldn't, like, I think since I have such an open schedule and work from home, like, on my own terms, basically, that she almost took advantage of that, and that it wasn't as important because she knew the flexibility that I had, which I just thought was disrespectful. And then the way she like treated me afterwards, like it was my fault, and and now it's fine. Like that's the one that got 9 months. And she actually said something while getting her 9-month medallion last Saturday that will like always stick with me. And she said, I can either have a drink or I can have everything. And it's just like
Oh yeah. I
no
get that.
brainer. Like, or I can drink and have nothing.
Like, how simple is that?
Right.
Yeah, like talk about keep it simple. That's like the most simple thing ever.
So, like, I think Liz really touched on. I used to always preach about this in earlier recovery after about a year and a half. But all this that you went through with the girl who got 9 months, and the one girl who asked your number, this, that, and the third. But I always think this is such a key point that people always sometimes overlook. Going through all that, did you drink?
Oh gosh, no.
Helping another.
Exactly.
I mean, a lot of times it's as simple as that. Like, I go to an old timers meeting, and I've heard these old timers. There'll be someone in there with a couple, 3, 4 years or something, talking about, oh, my sponsees are this and that. And Dave R, this big Dave R, God, I almost want to drop his name, but he's always
Name
quick.
dropping.
He's always quick to be like, did you drink through it? Okay, so something's working. Like, our heads want to find the differences or the problems, but not see, like, well, shit, all that bullshit I was complaining about or having issues with or letting my head tell me why me, this, that, I didn't drink through it.
No,
So, like,
and
it's working. Our predecessors knew something.
and I rarely reach out to people in this program unless it's like Liz or I mean I talk to Elena sometimes. But Liz and I were like going through a little something the day that happened, that I fired her or whatever, and I actually called Liz and she didn't answer, and like she's like the only one that like would get it for like, or that I like she was just the first person I thought of,
Right.
and her and I like I said were like having a little like something of our own going on, and like I was just sad and crying, but drinking never crossed my mind.
That's what's up.
Yeah, because drinking is not gonna do a damn thing, like, but make everything 5 million times worse.
I'm going to come
So-
back to that, too, because there's something I'm going to share at Timmy Time about exactly that point.
Timmy Time is tidbits with Tim.
But thank you. I think a lot of that was helpful and insightful. Tad, tell us about sponsorship and what it means to you and how important it is.
Oh man, I got some notes.
Thank you.
So good stuff. I'm just gonna play
Here we
advocate.
go.
Well, no. So I just want to, a couple things. If I got for Liz, and so if you can still help. No, I just don't want her to feel like she's not helping people because she's not sponsoring or anyone. Because one thing that you can do if you're not able, because there's been times right now I have no sponsors. And do I feel like I'm not helping addicts? Absolutely not. I give a lot of my life, about 60% to helping other drug addicts, but some easy ways. It talks about, like Bill W. used to do. You just go and talk to other drunks that are suffering and tell your story. I do 12-step calls when I can. The other thing that you can do is you can go to H&I. You can tell your story at treatment centers. You can tell your story at meetings. That's the way of giving back. And eventually, maybe God has plans for you, and sponsoring someone just isn't in the cards right now. And be careful what you wish for, because once we all know that person who didn't have sponsees for 3-4 years, and then like right around 5 or 6 years, boom, they got like 20, and I can't say no, and yeah, we all know that person, and then they're crying about how many guys they have sponsees, and I was one of those guys at one point, and so it's not about quality or quantity. It's just about helping, and the main point is if you're doing all that stuff, it's giving back, and like I said, I'll talk about what it means to me in a little bit. I also wanted to so I absolutely agree that the best way to work this program is with a sponsor. I do. I will play devil's advocate to that, though, because I know of 2 people. I only know of 2 in my many travels who have worked the steps. Yep. Bill Wilson didn't have a sponsor.
Oh, here you go.
I'm just saying. That's what Jason B points out. And Jason B didn't have a sponsor when he worked the steps the first time and got that God contact. That was worked in a jail cell by himself with that. Rick B did it by himself. So I'm not saying don't. I would recommend getting a sponsor, because my take on that is now, let's say we're going to, what's the biggest national forest you can think of? Redwood. We're all going to the Redwood Forest. None of us have been there.
I think it's Sequoia National.
Sequoia, whatever. We're going where Timmy wants to go, Sequoia National Forest, the Redwoods. And you know what? There's all this great stuff that we want to do. We'll call that step 1, step 2, step 3. But we enter here at step 4 because we've never been
Right.
in the middle, and we're trying to get to, and then we go to step 12.
A roadmap to somewhere you've never.
And it's confusing. You have no one to ask questions. Like, so, like, it has been done. But to Bill Wilson's own acknowledgement, Jason B's own acknowledgement, and anyone else I know that's done this, it sucks. It's hard. You want a guide. What would you want in the Redwood Forest? A freaking guide.
Yeah.
Who knows where he's going? So that's what a sponsor is a guide. That's my take on it. It's a guide. They can be your friend.
100%.
They can be your friend. Sometimes they don't have to be your friend. But they're a guide, and it's a predecessor, a guide, someone who has been through it. And and I'm not ever shaming anyone or telling them this. This is my personal opinion right here. And I'm going to say something else a little controversial. And this just comes from my first long-term sponsor, because I was going to fire a guy. And people you can drop sponsees for your better health and stuff. I just don't, and it sucks. Two, it's just because my sponsee asked me, and my old sponsor, rest his soul, Rich, said, "Have you ever fired someone who hired you before?" That's a weird thing. And that was just his take. And I've kept that with me, and that's just me. And we all know who I am. And I'm very, I never give up on anyone. I've had to set boundaries. And if you ask me about the one guy that I did kind of have a blow off with, I claim that I fired him. So I'm still a hypocrite too.
Oh, here we
In that, because me and him have an ego. But I love that guy. I love you, Casey. He tunes in sometimes to listen. But so, I mean, and situations are situational, Timmy. So, you know.
Yes, 100%.
And everyone, like I said, there's no right, wrong way. I'm not saying how anyone else does this. I just wanted to add context.
And I do understand.
So-
Specific fellowships will say this is the way you got to do it.
Yeah, and good for them.
And Ken
My-
was on here talking about the dogma of AA, or
Right.
the dogma of the church.
Yeah.
I know he struck a chord with a lot of our listeners. But
Well, and I'm not
his
gonna-
experience.
Right, and I'm never going to talk about which this or that
No,
does
but
it
he
because
made it real clear. This is my experience. And
Yep.
he also followed it with, you got to go make your own experience.
your own experience.
Right.
But Ken didn't talk about all the good stuff that he's had happen through him. That
Some of it.
So you know, and well, he did, but yeah. So like, well, I'm not gonna. I love Ken. So what I'm gonna say is, and we do that a lot. I do that a lot too. I've had to learn to not do that. I talk about the bad things with these people or that people or this program. Well, all those bad things that I took as bad got me to be the person I am today and kept me
100%.
frickin' sober. If I went to a meeting that I didn't like and people said stuff about me, guess what? That got me into the meeting that I love, and that's my home group where my best friends and my family are. So it did help me.
Right.
And it's all about, you know, we get to look at things differently, or we get to be miserable. And if we're gonna get to be miserable, then at some point when you've been in recovery for a couple years, if you're miserable,
Change it up.
it's something you're doing,
Yeah, change it
in
up.
my opinion. And like all you have to do is choose to have a better mindset, and it's not always easy. Is it easy for you to have a better mindset today, Tim?
You know what? We're the creators of our own happiness.
You very well could have answered 30 drunk calls from your dead brother's friends today. You could have not came and got me, and you could have been sad. We could have been crying in your truck, but we chose to have a good day.
And I'll remain that way.
Bec-
Because it makes me happy.
yeah, and it doesn't mean we're not mourning your brother. It doesn't mean you're a bad person because you don't want to talk to 30 drunks tonight, cry about your brother.
I'd just go to work with you if I wanted that.
Yeah, I can get you a job as a bouncer if you want. Tonight.
What? Before Timmy time,
Yep.
Elena,
Get Elena.
we want your intake or your input on what a sponsor is and what it has done for you and what it means to you.
Okay, so I am a firm believer that everybody in this program needs a sponsor.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You be quiet.
I know.
Yeah, it's my opinion. I'm a firm believer that everybody needs a sponsor, or a mentor of some kind. I am also a firm believer that a lot of people say that it needs to be women and women and men. I don't believe that. I have a few people that I talk to of different sex that are great mentors. They're not sponsors, they're mentors. They're people that I can talk to that it's all about the program. It's nothing more but program. It's nothing more but recovery, because that is the kind of boundaries that we can set in this life that we have right now. That's who's helped me understand this program. That's who's helped me to understand how to live a life and to carry this program into all aspects of my life. Are there things that I still need to work on? Yes. That's why I still contact my sponsor. That's why I still talk to my sponsor. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to see my sponsor for the last couple weeks because the whole family is sick with COVID. So let's do some prayers for her family here. And then when it comes to sponsorship, so kind of like what Liz was saying, I've had many sponsees, and I am not your relationship therapist. I'm not your taxi driver. I'm not going to stop at the gas station on the way to a meeting and buy you a coffee and a pack of cigarettes and all of these things. Like, you're no longer buying drugs. You can buy your own stuff. Like, there's so many things. Like, I'm not your mother. I'm not, like, there's so many things. I'm here to help you go through the steps. I don't expect my sponsor to do these things for me. If you need something, then call your family, call your friends. Yes, I am going to be your friend. People say that your sponsor shouldn't be your friend. My sponsor is my best friend. After 2.5 years, my sponsor is my best friend.
Has become your best friend?
Yes.
Okay.
Be quiet.
No, I'm confirmed. Like, you guys didn't start out as best friends.
No. When I first met my sponsor, I didn't like my sponsor.
So you became.
And now she has become my best friend.
Good thing someone made you clarify that. All right.
And so, but when it comes to sponsorship, I've never fired a sponsee. I have been fired because I feel bad about firing sponsees. So I wait until it gets to the point where they're like, well, I think I need to go find a different sponsor. And then I'm like, okay, that's okay. You can go find a different sponsor now. Because it's to the point where they're like, well, I don't feel like we're doing what we need to do, or we're not doing the steps, or we're not doing that. Yeah, well, I've given you options. We can meet so many times a week. Here's my schedule, and you don't want to meet, and you don't want to meet, and you want me to work your steps, and that's not the way it works, because I don't know your life. I can't work your steps. I can't tell you how to do the program. So if you don't do it, then we can't do anything. So I've waited, and then finally they're like, well, I'm going to go find a different sponsor. And then, okay, I'll be in the meeting. I'll see you around. That's the way it works. So right now I have one, and I love her to death. She's probably listening right now, and we're still working on finding a time to meet. Her life is really busy. My life is really busy. So now that winter is coming, I'm hoping that we're going to have some time to meet. But when it comes to my take on sponsorship is kind of to go off of what Candace was saying. When I'm sitting in a meeting, so I'm going to have 3 years coming up. When I'm sitting in a meeting and I raise my hand and people don't come up to me, it doesn't really hurt my feelings. The way I look at it is my higher power probably thinks that I have too much on my plate right now. There's something going on in my life right now that she or he doesn't want me to take on something else in my life. So I probably just don't have time because of everything else. Because there are people that I help outside of meetings, like Tad will call me and talk to me, or Tim will call and talk to me, or other people in meetings will call and talk to me. So I might not have time to sponsor people because I'm mentoring or I'm helping other people. So I might not have somebody that is specifically named my sponsee, but I have all these people that I'm always helping no matter what. So, I mean, sometimes that is a lot better. Sometimes that's a lot better to me than to say that I'm a sponsor.
So you don't need the title.
I really don't. I don't really like titles.
I was just going to say something really quick off that. So when you were talking about how you don't have to be somebody's sponsor to help or that type of stuff. So I was sharing my experience of working with a new therapist, and I was just talking about how I really like her and I feel like she was a godsend. I really, really do. She was exactly what I needed right at that moment when I had been like, I need help. I need help. I need someone to help me. Just to even talk through stuff and maybe just not give advice, but like just listen. And I was sharing that experience and just kind of everything that I was going through with two of my girlfriends. And one of them reached out to me afterwards and said, hey, can you see if your therapist will work with one of my girlfriends? And so I was like, yeah, let me just talk to her. And I talked to my therapist and she said, absolutely, give her my information. And she reached out to my therapist and had an amazing session and hadn't felt that great in a while. So where I may not have been sharing, I may not have been sharing the AA message.
You're sharing your message.
I was sharing my message, and me and the person that reached out to my therapist have a lot of the same things going on in our lives or our past lives or whatever. So it was helpful. And that's just the type of stuff I feel like I have to share is things that worked for me.
Absolutely. That's awesome. No, that's cool. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Huh? What?
Nothing.
Yeah. What's up?
What's up?
So what are you doing?
He brought this app so we could play music legally, but we don't have a system.
Go ahead and
Oh my gosh. So we're gonna take a turn here really quick. And we are gonna do some tidbits with Timmy for a minute here.
A man that's been everywhere and nowhere. A man who knows everything and nothing. A man who is running and standing still at the same time. Now, it is time for Tidbits with Timmy. Woo! Ah! Woo!
Well, gentlemen and women, it's me again. Back at that lucky hour of 10:10. Huh? 10:10? 10:10? In 12 hours, I know where you gals are going to be. Tidbits with Timmy. Tonight, we're not going to be dark about it, but first thing I'm going to bring up is something that you shared about. Like, you'll follow the correlation. We shared about, I in honor of my brother, I wanted this podcast, blah, 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 blah. He's been gone like 3 years. His birthday is today. He would have been 45 years old, which is sad as F. It hurts. It sucks. But, like, when this happened, I was in early recovery. And, there was a big funeral. Lots of my brother's friends showed up. Tons of them. Like, hundreds. Like, it was a big send-off type of deal or celebration of life. Call it what you will. People were getting real twisted. The celebration of life was at a bar. Like, shots going around, people puffing and doing whatever. Family was hurting. A lot of hurting family members. And I wasn't. Sure, I was hurting when they played the little video of us running around as kids and there's sad points. But what I'm getting at is I got to be present. I didn't once think about pardon my language, I didn't want to swear during this, but I didn't think about going to get fucked up. My go-to for everything at that point in life before recovery was there was a reason to go get fucked up. To just get dumb, out of my mind, not worry about life. That was my go-to. Something that was turned into what was my normal for the last 10 years before I got clean. That was my norm. Car's not starting, let's use. It's raining out, shit, let's use. My shoes aren't tying up right today, let's use. Didn't even matter. I held my breath too long, let's use. My eyes didn't blink enough, let's use. Whatever it was, I had a reason to go use and not deal with it. But in this particular time of a situation that I would have told you, this is why I will relapse. If I ever relapse, it's because I lose X, Y, or Z. And this person we lost was one of the X, Y, or Zs. Never once did I think about using. I don't know why. After the fact, a month or two later, I thought about it. Like, God, so many people are still real messed up over the loss of my brother. Real messed up. I got his friends calling me from out of state. I got friends in state calling me, girls, old female friends of his, my mom, like she's a wreck still to this day. Like it's hard. Like I said before, this was not designed for parents to have to bury their children. So like people were really struggling. And they still do struggle. But I think about it, and it was about 2 or 3 months after, like I was like, why did I make it through that without thinking about using, getting all bummed out and depressed, losing my shit, or doing some shit I'd regret? Because it was one of those 4 things I would do prior to recovery. And all that kept popping in my mind is, well, you go to meetings 7 days a week, you talk to a sponsor, you do what's suggested, and maybe, you know, I don't need to dissect it, but maybe it's because I stayed busy in recovery. Maybe it's because I listened to others, took suggestions. Whatever the case is, I was doing things that I wasn't doing before recovery. Recovery is what I was doing, and I made it through it. Plus, you know what? I don't want to cut no one short. I had a ton of support. People in recovery. I had family. I had friends. Oh, you know I can keep talking. Just go. Do your dizzle. So, at the end of the day, like, I look back at it, and I said I didn't want to make this all dark, and, like, I didn't want to make this morbid. But what I wanted to explain was, like, I made it through something how do I word it the right way? I don't want to not do it justice, but this wasn't the hardest time of my life. It should have been. The situation calls for it to be the hardest time of my life, but it was not emotionally the hardest time of my life. It was probably some of the most growth I've ever had in my entire life. And I don't know why, except for the only thing that changed was recovery. I have a network of people, and this was only, you know, it was an early recovery for me. So it would have been a great excuse to go back out. But I wasn't looking for an excuse to go back out, anything like that. It just, when she was talking about, like, her situation and how, you know, she can only point at recovery is why she's making it through situations that used to baffle her before. It's no different than where I was at. Like, I now get to make it through these things that I don't know why I made it through it, but I did. And I get to be there for other friends of my brother and people that are really struggling through it and think the only answer is to pick up a drink or to snort it away or smoke it away or just go disappear and isolate or be real bummed out and depressed. Like, I'm happy today. And it's because I made it that way. I'm not let there be others. I have not let that situation overtake my happiness or my freedom or my joy. Like, I don't bullshit when I say we're the creators of our own happiness. Like, I can be bummed out if I want. I don't want to be. I feel so much better when I'm happy. Like, listen to that music. I'm happy today. All right. That's where I'm going to wrap that up with. Usually I tell a dumbass joke right now. But I think we're going to lead this out with a little inspirational music instead. Huh? Huh?
That's very inspirational.
Inspirational. Now is when I tell you something inspirational, like, you know what? You got to fail in order to grow. If you don't fail and give yourself a chance to fail, you're never going to grow. So how are you going to grow if you don't fail? You'll never grow if you don't fail. You got to give yourself a chance. Don't ever cut yourself short. You deserve happiness. You deserve to smile. You're never alone. You are loved. You got to reach out. No one knows when you're hurting. Closed mouths don't get fed. You have to reach out if you are struggling. You have to let someone know when you're hurting. Sometimes we don't surround ourselves with the best people. Sometimes we don't make the best decisions. But at the end of the day, if we don't let someone know that we're hurting, people aren't going to know and you're just going to hurt more. And then your head's going to tell you that no one cares. Someone can't tell if you're hurting by the look in your eyes. Sometimes they can, but at the end of the day, like, set yourself free. Be happy. You are the creator of your happiness. And you know what? That was Tidbits with Timmy. I know I'm clowning. I can't. You know what? I can't wait to listen back to it and see how dorky. I don't even know what I just said. That whole 8 minutes. I don't know what the hell is blah 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 about.
I'm not gonna say you were dorky. But
Oh, dorky as it comes.
oh
So,
boy.
Elena, we cut you off early because of Tidbits with Timmy. But Matthew, I need you to come over here into their seat I need you to tell the audience what a sponsorship and sponsors and what sponsoring, all what that's done for you in your previous 8 years, through to your relapse, and now. So you're going to be on the mic for a minute.
Right. So
Tell us.
like my first, like my 8.5 years, like that
are
whole.
you?
I'm Matt,
The assistant producer.
co-producer. Get it right.
There you go.
So yeah, so back 8.5 years ago, I had sobriety. You know, like I went to that whole stint without a sponsor, but I did it by myself. Like Tad was saying earlier, it's hard by yourself, but like, I felt at that time I didn't need a sponsor. So like I did all that. Like I had been in and out of jail and incarceration in prison, in and out because of that reason. Because I chose to really just like be very anti-authoritative with like probation and parole. So like, it caused me a lot of problems. So this time when I got out and I was done with all my prison and parole time, I got back in trouble. I got in trouble again with drugs. I said this last time I sat 5 months in jail, or 5 months in jail. Chose to come up to the cities here and do inpatient treatment. Graduated that as a peer leader and all this. Like I put way more effort into it. Then I moved into my sober house. I started coming here to 2218. I found my home meeting 6 days a week here. You know, and after like a couple months, I found a sponsor who actually like is real close with like my family, which I did not realize when I met him I went to one day out to the pig event out in Wisconsin, and he was there, and come to find out he knew my uncle personally, and so like he became my sponsor because of that. Like, so I know like I feel like I've met him at one point, but I just don't remember because I was so active in my youth at the time. Don't remember him ever coming to my house, but like he's my sponsor now, and like we worked step one. Like I'm still going through the steps yet, but you know I'm taking my time with it. Like I think if I did the first time out of it, is try to rush through it, and the steps are meant to be rushed through. It's meant to be take time, like on your time, no matter how you do them. Like if you don't have a sponsor, you want to work the steps. I agree with Tad. Like you can do it. You can do it yourself that way. But like he's saying, it's gonna be hard. Like it was hard for me the first time. Like I worked the steps by myself, and it was the hardest thing to do because like I didn't have a guide through them. Like that's why sponsorship I think is a good idea for anybody that's like first coming into recovery or coming back from a relapse. Like find that sponsor that like makes you comfortable to go through the steps with. Because if you're not someone that's like you're comfortable with, like it's gonna be a terrible experience. Probably more or less, it's gonna be a terrible experience because you're gonna be having a lot of animosity or stuff towards each other, and you're gonna get in that. There's always a potential for relapse. Like if it's not somebody you get comfortable with to do the steps with. The steps are just like they say when we read how it works. Like they're guidelines, like how to work your program. But like it's just the way things work. Like everything from step one is like they say the most important step. As soon as we can admit that step one to ourselves, like it gets a lot easier. And 12 comes like who knows how long down the line. But sponsorship is like really like the heart of this program, like because they're like Elena said, mentors, or you don't have to become a sponsor. You become a mentor because they're here to mentor us on how to get through things.
What? And I think there's a couple, in my opinion, fundamental differences between sponsor and mentor. Sponsor is someone who walks you through the steps. Mm-hmm. A mentor is someone that's helping you, and that can be in many facets, not just recovery, life, getting a bank account. I mentor a lot of people, and they're not just people in recovery now. I mentor some people at work too, and I have mentors in and out of recovery. So I mean, and what I think the main point that I hope our listeners and anyone listening gets is there's no one size fits all for this topic or any recovery.
Exactly.
It's you. It's your recovery, so make it your own. It's unique, just like you, right, Elena?
Yeah, and I just want to add, because there's something that you just said, Matt, and I might say it completely wrong from what you just said, but you mentioned something about finding someone to work with that it was something about finding somebody to work with that you can work with, so that way you don't relapse. Is that kind of what you said?
Yeah, it makes you comfortable.
That makes you comfortable, because even if that person, if like my sponsor, when I first met her, I didn't like her. Whether she makes me comfortable or not, if you're gonna go out and relapse, you're gonna go out and relapse. That has nothing to do with your sponsor. So when you start to sponsor, If somebody goes out and relapses, don't ever take that on yourself.
Right.
Because if you do, then you're not ready to be a sponsor, because that's not your fault if somebody goes out and uses.
Right. And like the sponsor, like our sponsors are there for us. Like when we have those thoughts or urges or triggers or cravings, whatever you want to call them, they're there like to call and like talk to them about it, because like maybe they can help you get away from like going back out and using. But what we choose to do, like after we call a sponsor, that's our choice, regardless. Like, but the sponsors there to help ease the pain of like whatever going on. Like, just like a couple months ago, like I shared like a couple months ago on the podcast, like I lost my nephew in August through asthma attack, like severe asthma attack. You know, I had every reason at that time to go back out and use, but like it made no sense, because it's like it's my step nephew, my brother's stepson. Like showing up to that service would have been disrespectful to my brother and his family, and even my own family. Like with how far I've come in my recovery now, this time. So like I've had to like I spent a lot of time, like the whole month, like up to a month before that, leading up to the service, to like really think about like how I want to show up there. Mm-hmm. And I know it was the first time in like over like 10 years that all my mom's kids were together for a big service like that.
So I just want to share something really quick, because I like one of the other things that you said. So when we're hurting and when we calling our sponsors is a big thing that we should do. But I just want to share something. So one of the times, so I used to be a big relapser before I finally figured everything out and took my head out of my ass.
You figured everything out?
I figured everything out and took my head out of my ass. So
shit,
one of
I
the
got
things,
questions.
I called my sponsor one night. I was drunk as all can be, and I called my sponsor one night sitting in a McDonald's parking lot. And I knew that if I called her, she couldn't do nothing because she was at the airport on her way to California. And she goes, "Why didn't you call me before you drank?" I said, "Because that wouldn't have changed anything."
Huh.
It wouldn't have changed. Like, I still had that mindset that I was going to drink. I still had that I was going to go out. I still had it in my mind. Like, that's what I wanted to do. So, but now as I've come to learn and I've worked with that sponsor and I've figured out the things that bother me and whatever else, I have found the things that lead up to that, so that way I know what to do and when to call her, because I know what's going to happen. So I know the little things that are going to start to bother me, where it's going to be like, well, if that happens again, I know I'm going to have the thought of drinking, so I better call her and let her know what's going on.
Right. That's a good point. And I want to get back to our guest, being as how we only have about 20 more minutes before we start getting into our wrap up. Are there any other things that you girls, you ladies, sorry, didn't mean to call you girls, you guys are women, ladies in recovery, that you would like to talk about? Anything the spirits touched on?
Something I feel like Elena said she had it all figured out, what she's lying.
I don't have it all figured out.
We never have it all figured out.
So Elena's got it all figured out. So she put her number on there. So text her anything and she has the answer.
Yes, clearly she's not living a life of honesty right now.
Just text her every question you have ever.
Just something. No problem. Something that I wouldn't call it a struggle, but I think it annoys a lot of people is like, or mainly my husband, I should say, is yes, the alcohol is out of my life, but I still have obsessions and addictions like shopping and coffee.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I have shared this in the meetings, but I have literally gone to 2 different Starbucks in the same day. Like,
Kind of like the liquor store,
yes,
right?
well, yes.
You're going to make
I
it
broadened that to maybe 4 or 5, but because Starbucks isn't as embarrassing or shameful, maybe, I don't know. But anyways, I feel like cross addiction can be a big thing, and I look at it as if it's like kind of like something to question if you have an alcohol problem. Is it affecting your life? Is it affecting your relationships with others? Are people saying stuff to you about it? Like stuff like that. And as long as you can keep that in check and it's not, even though it may be obsessive in others' eyes, and even in mine, I know it's obsessive. It's just, I'm not perfect. I'm smoked again, and I had quit for a long time, or a year about. And it's like, should I be a coffee obsessed addict or a alcohol obsessed addict using? And I guess I just take the coffee and the shopping. Like, I'm okay with it.
All right.
Yeah.
So I just not to so people aren't so hard on yourselves. Like I feel like in
Right.
this program where like I've told Liz this a million times, like you're told like you can't not to like gossip and not to like just always do the next right thing and only take your own inventory and your side of the road and find your fault in it. And it's like fuck no. Like that person's being an idiot. That person's being a bitch. Like
No, Elena just did a health self-care like 2 weeks ago about that. Like, we are allowed to make mistakes. Like,
Yeah.
don't beat
No one's
yourself up.
perfect.
Yeah, like the second you're putting yourself on a pedestal, it's like almost setting an expectation. You don't do that to yourself. And it is okay to make mistakes. Like, how are you going to... I just went through a spiel during the end of my little Timmy time. I was like, you got to have failures to grow. You got to...
And I said it too. I
truth.
got to where I'm getting today by making a lot of mistakes. I didn't
Yeah.
wake up learning how to do everything I did. I didn't wake up perfect, and I'm still not perfect. And if you're ever expecting that from me, good luck.
Yeah.
And it's great when you get to a point where you accept that, and then you add self-love to tie it all together with a nice bow here, because then you can be at a point where, yeah, sometimes it bugs you when people talk about you, gossip or say stuff, but you can be at a point where it doesn't frickin' matter
Yeah.
because no one's harder on Tad than frickin' Tad.
exactly.
Right.
So-
I felt that so much with all my relapsing. Like I know you guys are pissed at me and whatnot, but no one feels as bad
Right.
about it, like physically, emotionally, like
Yeah.
or harder on yourself than yourself.
You're like your own worst critic,
Yes.
usually.
Worse
I
than
felt
any-
so emotionally distraught about what I had done with my life and to the people I cared about, and they cannot think this is true, that I had fibromyalgia, which is a symptom of trauma, and it manifests pain. So my body, through the life I lived, gave me pain all the time, and that was the reality I was living in. And because of this program, it's pretty much a non-factor now, 99% of the time. And that's from living the lifestyle I did. So, like, no one can tell me I should feel this way or talk about me because you know what? I'm going to make mistakes. For the good, there's bad. No one's perfect. You know what? And also, I'd say the more you do good in this program or the more you do good in life, the more you're living this life, you're going to have freaking haters. Because there are fakers. There
This is
are
your
people
job.
who can't do it. There are people who, just keep doing you. Just keep doing you, boo-boo. And that's all I can
Yes.
say about it.
you, boo-boo.
Yeah, that's all I can say about it.
Liz
Tangent
knows
over.
something about that.
Yeah, it's all right.
What's up, Liz? Yeah, share on it. Speak on it.
It's all right.
Speak on it.
I mean, I'll keep it generic. I think that so this year has been very trying on me in terms of personal relationships, and that is personally and professionally. And I've done a lot of introspection. I've listened to way too many podcasts.
There's never enough podcasts.
I have done a lot of work on me and trying to figure some of that stuff out. And I feel like the more I'm successful, the more that I grow, the stronger I get, the boundaries I'm setting, I am pissing some people off.
It be like that. It be like that. Or people that are used to you and your old behaviors
Yep.
that used it, or you people pleased and got what they want. So very early on, I was super involved in this place, and I never said no, and I let people walk all over me, and I started learning boundaries, and a little bit of self-dignity. And I thought when I stepped away from this place and set some healthy personal boundaries, like, of course, my therapist, my counselor, and my girlfriend at the time were like, yeah, I thought I was going to get this overwhelming from everybody. No, I got a lot of fucking hate. I got people telling me I was a piece of shit. I got death threats from an Elmo club because I stepped down. I got a lot of crazy stuff. I had people I had all sorts of craziness and people telling me I was a bad person, people in my inboxes because I set personal boundaries. Not everyone is, but when you're putting yourself first, that's fine. Not everyone's going to like when you live healthy, especially unhealthy people.
Unhealthy.
Well, and I've just found that if what I'm doing isn't serving their purpose,
Preach.
then they're not okay with it.
Yeah.
Once I stood up and said, you know what, this is what I'm gonna do for me. I'm gonna take my power back. that's when people are not happy with it. And the more I am coming into my own this year, and learning more about myself, and that I can stand up to these people, and that I can set limits and boundaries, and the more they're not happy about it. And I can't worry about that, right? Like,
No.
we can't control anybody else's thoughts, actions, and feelings.
You
We
can
can
o-
only control how we respond to situations.
We can't even control our own feelings sometimes
Yeah, no
and
shit.
actions, and you know what I mean.
Yeah. So it's been an interesting year, to say the least. And Candace and I have kind of touched on a little bit something that we kind of went through this year. And I brought it up a little bit at a meeting we were just at when she got her medallion. But we have people in our lives that are so used to who we are as addicts and
Oh, yeah.
using, that once we aren't using anymore and we do find our voice and we are coming into our own, the guy that I'm dating, he knew me when I was in active addiction. We were not together at the time, whatever. And he has seen me grow into who I am today, but he had to learn to date somebody different.
Right, because you're
Because I wasn't that person that was just going to, I mean, I was wasted all the time. I was wasted
Right.
all
I
the
think
time.
you're about to bring up a good topic we might dive into right now.
But we just had to, like, he had to learn to date me again. So
Right.
not only did I have to learn more about who I was, because I don't like when people say they lost themselves. Like, I don't want to say you lost yourself. It's just, it was a darker period, right?
Right.
Like, you were suppressing kind of who you were, and now your light is showing, and you're learning, like, to stand up for yourself. And Candace and I went through this time when we were butting heads because we both were standing up for what we believed was right for our perspective and our opinions. And we just had to come to the realization, like, either we're gonna, like, move forward and we're gonna work on this and we're gonna talk about it like adults. And I did a 4-step on it.
Good
you
things
know,
to do.
Like, yeah, I had to call my sponsor and be like, this is what's going on.
Inventory
But
that
it's
shit.
just like remembering that. So there are some people that aren't in our lives anymore because they aren't a part of our journey moving forward.
Right.
They don't
And-
like the people we're becoming.
And let's never close the door on people when they leave, because people come in and out of our lives as God sees fit, and you never know.
Right.
You never know. I have a question, then Timmy's got something. So my question would be: for both of you, when you started setting new boundaries, and like just like your boyfriend had to date a new you, did you guys have to learn to live with a new you, and how was that?
Yeah, definitely. I get up at 4:30 every morning, and
Why?
I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, what?
know.
No wonder it's past your bedtime.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
seriously.
you got to be up in 4 hours.
Seriously. So I wake up at 4:30 every morning, and I look back on who I was when I was using, and I was waking up at 4:30 in the morning to take shots in order to go back to bed before I had to get up and drive to work. And now I'm getting up at 4:30 in the morning to take care of my dog, to take care of my small business, to get ready for work, to work out. And it's just like, sometimes I do reflect and be like, who am I? Like, where did this come from? Like, who is this girl, this woman that's like coming into her own? And I turned 40 this year. So I feel like I'm just starting to live again. And I told Candace this after COVID happened, and I isolated a lot at the beginning of this year. I wasn't going out and doing things. I didn't feel like I looked great enough. I didn't know if my recovery was good enough. I was having struggles with relationships, and recently she's been like, let's go do this, let's go do this. And I've been going. I mean, I wouldn't be sitting here today if she wouldn't have been like, I signed us up. Okay, Candace. Then she found out it was at 9:00. Yeah. And then she was like, are you sure you want to do this? But we knew we would feel great about it afterwards. And that's something that I'm so grateful for with our friendship, is that we were the girls at the bar waiting for it to open. We would never have been caught at an Alano on a Saturday morning. We were the people that nobody wanted to invite to the party anymore because she would be passed out, and then I would show up, and then I'd, be a hot mess. But just like learning. to be
Emphasis on the mess.
comfortable- Yes, emphasis on the real mess.
We've been
but
there.
Just learning like who I am and that I do have a voice and I can stand
Right.
up for myself. And not everybody is going to like it. And I don't, as much as I say I don't have to worry about it, I'm coming into my own, realizing that if I don't look out for me, no one else is going to.
Good
Heck
point.
yeah, good answer. Candace, do you remember the question or do you want me to repeat it quick?
Repeat, please.
So when you set this new boundaries and like, so your husband probably had to learn to date a new you, or people had to learn to deal with the new Candace. Did you have to learn to live with the new Candace, and how is that?
I mean, I feel like I'm more confident and more sure in myself than I've ever been. And that has caused issues, especially with my husband, just because I'm not afraid to say what bothers me. And I'm still a control freak. Like, let's be real. Like, if you're going to do the dishes, do it fully. If you're going to, if you're going to organize the spice cabinet, damn, do it by alphabetical order and all the labels facing forward. Like, what's wrong with you? And so,
Rah.
yeah, so it's like, yes, we're sober. Yes, we're in recovery, but we still have life. And I'm still going to be a controlling person. I just have to work on it.
Do you see that as a character defect of yours? Do you even
Ye-
see it as a problem?
I mean, I think I'm a little over the top, yes.
Why is your friend laughing?
Because she's the same way.
However,
Hey, there's nothing wrong with being a little over the top
However what?
sometimes.
Let's hear-
However,
what?
I totally take her inventory at times.
We need that.
I know.
You know what?
I
We
know.
Need that.
But she's so funny. Like, she'll share about how her daughter wants to pick out her own outfit.
Oh, gosh,
Or
every
her
day.
husband will dress her daughter or help her dress her daughter. And she is like, what are they wearing? What are you wearing? Like, no, that outfit does not go together. Those shoes don't go with those leggings. And she will, like, let it bug her. And then it's kind of like, Candace, just let it go. Like, it's going to be okay.
But she
what if
always
she
looks really cute.
She does.
I used
Even
to
when
do.
she dresses herself.
I used to do
Oh,
this.
wow.
Right.
Which is never if I'm home.
I used to do this thing called clash match, where I'd wear like opposite things that didn't match, so that would have drove you nuts.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
and my whole thing is like she has this whole closet of clothes. Why the hell are you going to wear this summer dress when it's 0 degrees outside? Like, no. Oh, and then my husband's like, oh, she can put on leggings under and a jacket over. And I'm just like, oh, God.
But it doesn't matter.
So, yeah, I have
Ah.
to pick my battles there.
Can
I have
we-
gotten a little better.
We're gonna get to Tim's question, but
Yes.
can you quick tell people what taking someone else's inventory means, in case they're confused?
So I see taking somebody else's inventory as looking at what they're doing wrong or how you might do something if you don't agree with how they're doing it. Or I will say, like, oh, she's, crazy for not letting her daughter pick out her own outfit. However, my boyfriend will walk into the fridge and I'm like, are you eating again?
Damn.
So it's stuff like that where then in reality, I'm restless, irritable, and discontented. Like, I know that I'm not happy with myself right now. So I deflect on him and be like, can you seriously just get out of the fridge? Like, what are you eating now? Or just things that'll bother me about what somebody else
Right.
is doing, because in reality, there's something going on inside of me.
Ooh, you already hit on it. No follow-up question needed.
I do.
Yep, Tim,
So-
go.
Well, it is kind of, you already answered it in a way, but can you see the growth in that nowadays? Like, before you found recovery, were you able to identify what you're doing?
Absolutely not.
I'm not saying you were doing something wrong, but you recognize, like, the whole process now, right?
Yeah,
Versus
so
then?
I'm more quick, and I know that Candace can relate to this for sure, but I'm more quick to recognize what I'm doing in the moment and make amends quicker. So I'm not always going to tell you I'm sorry, and I don't think amends should necessarily be an I'm sorry, more of a I'm going to clean up my side of the street because I know this wasn't right, even though if I don't agree with you, whatever. But I just feel like now I can recognize it so much more quickly to where I will, say to him if I'm annoyed he's grazing all day, which in reality, it's what I'm doing when he's not there. So I'm just, whatever. So yes, I definitely see things a lot more quickly today.
You got any thoughts on this, Candace?
No, I mean, I agree. I've taken her inventory many times.
She's like, I got a list.
We've been best friends for
Yeah.
quite a while, so.
And sometimes I feel like there's a fine line between like everything doesn't have to be called taking inventory.
Well-
if you notice something, you notice something. Why is it called inventory?
We shouldn't judge people. Well, we're human. It's part of being
Exactly.
I
human. It
got
happens.
something to say about all of this. Is
Uh-oh.
I go to these old timer
kidding.
meetings, and I'm talking about the average clean time in there's about 23 years.
Yep.
All these old timers will be the first to sit and tell you, is, I need you to take my inventory. Like, sure, there is a fine line of, watch your own bobber. Like, you're just sitting here busy calling me out on shit. No, there's a difference in taking someone's inventory to help keep them safe.
Yes.
Like, when I hear someone with 20 plus years say, I need people to take my inventory, because we can stray from a path quickly once we start, I'm talking me. I start telling myself I'm doing A, B, and C the right way, and I'm shutting out, I'm not being teachable anymore. All of a sudden, I need someone to tell me, hey, Tim, whoa, slow down. Like, you're veering out this path. Like, I welcome it, but it sure hurts my ego a lot when someone tells me about myself quickly. Like, you are quick to call yourself out about deflecting. How would it be if, let's say, Elena was like, whoa, girl, what you telling him about getting in the fridge for? Take a look in the mirror. Or, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it hurts to hear it from someone else, which is a good thing about your own growth. But I think I made the full circle there, right?
Yeah, so an example of that would have been, I think it's like a month or two ago now, but it had been 3 weeks since I had been to an in-person meeting. I had gone online, but I hadn't gone in person, and Candace said, hey, are you going to the meeting on Saturday? And I was like, I just don't know. I have so much going on and whatever. And she said, that'll be 4 weeks in a row that you haven't gone in person. And immediately in my head, I was like, I talk to my sponsor every single day. I've been to online meetings. I've done this and this and this. And what have you done? And then in my head, I'm going, okay, she's right. I really need to go to an in-person meeting because I get different things out of it than I get from an online meeting. Yeah, exactly. So I was really quick to then all of a sudden be like, okay, like I need to look inside of me and be like, okay, she's calling me out on my bullshit.
And it was for a good thing, not like, Liz, you're eating 6 cookies. Can't you eat 3? Like.
Well, she
Oh, and
she
I
Elena,
want to point out.
she
Elena.
does make the cookies.
Yes.
So
Yes.
what were you gonna say?
So just to comment on Liz's growth, like when we were we went on vacation recently, and she was telling me how her boyfriend likes to eat all day and like eat crap, and she's like, "But I do the same thing. I just do it when he's not home." So she said it right away.
Yeah, like I own my stuff. I was like, I'm doing the same thing, and I get so like on myself that I'm like trying to control what he does because I don't feel in control. And so it's stuff. That's an example of it. I mean, there's others, let's be honest, but that's just an example of being
Heck yeah.
mindful about what I'm doing and then turning around on somebody else. And I shouldn't be on his ass for stuff like that. That's silly.
I would.
I completely understand what you're saying because I've been getting on my 17-year-old about that right now because I'm not eating all the crap. I've been doing so good for like the last month and a half, and she's eating all the crap, and I'm like getting on her like, why? Well, you need to stop eating chips. You need to stop drinking pop. You need to stop doing all this stuff, and it's because I really want to eat some chips.
Right.
And I want to drink pop.
I was
But
gonna
then-
say when we change our behaviors.
Yeah.
I went through a time period where I could notice when I stopped being violent and stopped yelling at people and did that. I noticed all the tendencies in other people, and I got mad because they get to behave that way,
It's heightened.
and I don't.
Well, one of the things that I've noticed when it comes to taking people's inventory is I don't care if people take my inventory if they are actually doing the things in life to make their inventory better too.
Or
If you take my inventory and your life is a complete shamble and you are a complete
Right.
mess,
Or you're doing
you
it-
have no reason to take my inventory.
so there's a difference between holding someone accountable and taking their inventory. You want to know what the easiest way that you can tell if you're holding someone accountable or taking their inventory?
How?
Your intent. What is your intention? What is
To
your
get her
motive?
to go to the meeting because I wanted her to
If
go
your intention is to help them and you're not getting anything, you're not taking anyone's inventory. You're trying to help them and hold them accountable. If your intention is to humiliate them or it's because you have to do something, or it's because you're mad at them, or you're making fun of them, or any other thing, selfish or self-centered, if your intention is in selfish and self-centeredness, yeah, it's taking someone else's inventory. It's shitty. And we all do it at times. But if it's in love and it's in caring and you're not getting anything out of it, there's nothing wrong with that. How you come across can get how things can be misinterpreted. Because if I'm trying to be loving and caring to you, Elena, and I'm scowling at you and I'm talking down to you like I'm better, you're not going to take that. You're not going to take that as love. Especially if I'm all tad about it and you're not,
Mad about it.
you know,
It's a
rah
verb
rah.
now.
So I just want to add something here before we jump into all of our
Oh, shit, it's
gratitudes
that
and everything else. So I just want to add something, Liz, to you really quick, because I was there the day that you came back after being gone for a while. I was there at that meeting. So Liz and Candace and we all go to the same meeting, and it's
What meeting is this?
we go to the 1010 at Blaine Allen.
Is this a women's only meeting?
No, it's
Oh.
it's an everyone is welcome.
Big book study.
It's at 10:10. It's a big book study. We read out of the big book, and it's an amazing meeting. There's lots of recovery, lots of people
At the Blaine
It's-
Allen.
at the Blaine Allen.
I heard they have an amazing president.
Oh my gosh, we're not going to go there.
Oh, toot toot.
So we are not going to go there. So it's an amazing meeting. But the point is that I was there when you came back, and I was so grateful when you came in the door, because it's people like you and people like Candace and some of the other women that made me keep coming to that meeting. So when you came back, I was so grateful that were coming back into that meeting.
So the impact others could have by just showing up makes
Yeah.
more of a difference than they may even.
whether you're going through something or not, like, we're all going through something. So I'm glad that Candace was able to get you to come back in that room,
Me too.
and you talked about it.
Yeah, and
So
I've always been open and honest in those rooms about what I'm going through and the troubles that happen, or if I'm eating too many cookies, or if I'm obsessing about working out, or all the different stuff, just because I feel like we do learn about life in there, and we learn how to live life, and things happen outside of alcohol and drugs. And that's why I'm so grateful for that meeting. That meeting was my higher power when I first got into recovery, when I first came into the rooms. That meeting was what got me coming back. And from there, I learned more about who my higher power was, which now today I call God. But it's just, that meeting has saved my life.
Heck yeah. Hey, I want to thank you, ladies, for being on the show. These are two fine examples of powerful women in recovery.
Right.
Do you guys have any last things before we go a whole closing routine? We got gratitude. We got a couple things, a few more minutes, but you guys got any final things you want to say?
I'm really grateful that you, Candace, got me out of my comfort zone by coming here and by doing things differently. We joked the other day just about how we need fellowship, and in reality, it's us hanging out.
That's
where
fellowship.
We have
No,
also,
I tried to get her to. I wanted her to come with me to my sister's house, and I told her she needed fellowship, and we're the only drunks.
That's all right.
but the way that we can show up for ourselves today, the way we can show up for each other, the way that we can now show up for the loved ones in our lives as daughters, as partners, as a mom. I'm a dog mom. I have a dog.
Cutest dog.
I have a
Heck yeah.
dogter. She's my dogter. And I'm just so grateful to meet you, and that you have this podcast to help people. I'm really grateful for everything that I have in my life today, because without AA and without recovery, I wouldn't have any of this.
True that. You got anything, Candace?
Just if anyone's like, because I know going into the first meeting, especially if you're going by yourself, can be so intimidating, but just do it.
Do
Like
it.
Nike says, just do it.
Our numbers are in the comment section. Me, Tim, Elena, and Matt, and we'll always meet you at a meeting. No worries. So hey, with that, we're gonna get into gratitude. So Elena,
Gratitude.
Yep.
Dad, what are you grateful for?
oh, you just cut me off.
Yeah.
I'm grateful that I have such an on her feet, Johnny on the dot, whatever your title is, producer.
Whatever my title
Yep.
is.
Talent recruit.
I don't go by
all
titles,
of this
remember?
stuff. She does all this stuff. I'm grateful that I have people like you, Tim, Matt, in my life. I'm grateful for my job. But you know what I'm most grateful for right now?
Your recovery.
Yes, always. But
Oh.
you know what I'm most grateful for just for today?
Just for
Moving out of the frickin' sober house.
You're moving out today?
No, I signed the lease on Monday, but moving out of the
Oh.
sober house, look, I've helped a lot of people. The sober house helped me. All that happy rah rah rah. But it's time for Tad to move on. It's time for the next chapter of his life, and it's time to stop babysitting boys.
Yeah, because there's nothing like being an adult and paying bills.
I mean,
Those suck.
when I'm done with an 18-hour workday and I have to be back to work in 5 hours, I'd prefer to go home, go to bed, get 4 hours of sleep, and not have to talk to a guy
I
about not
love it.
screaming at the top of his. Because that's when the problems happen.
Yep.
On those days, 18-hour day, get home, got to be back to work in 5 hours. Guy's having a mental breakdown, and I'm the one who's got to deal with it.
I'm so happy for you.
But I love doing that because it's made me stronger, even though I hate it in that moment.
I'm so happy for you. Now you just have to worry about the sink dripping and
And making my cat feel comfortable.
the toilet not flushing.
Oh, the guy was it was a non-pet place too.
Really?
Yeah, but I told him, I said
I'll
like,
take the cat.
hell no. I said, the cat's the only fine line. I said, that's it. Like, you'd be, for this place, this neighborhood, you could triple the price and have a better chance of convincing me of that than me and my cat. And I told him the whole story of me and Jessa, my fur baby. I'm a cat dad. Never thought I would be, but she was a sober house cat and she saved my life. Mm-hmm. She did. And
Like a therapy cat.
yep. So, and essentially she is. She's just one piece of paper away from Shane. She is working on it. But yeah, I'm grateful for my cat too. I've never actually said that on the show, but I always am. And my girlfriend, so I don't get in trouble.
That's my wife.
Well, she's gonna live with me.
Mandy's on
and
here. Hi, Mandy.
There's no Elena's allowed in her house. Signs already. I don't know where they came from. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. You're always welcome.
He just got cut off from the best friend squad.
No, I didn't. That's not true. Elena, what are you grateful for?
I am, oh my gosh, it's going to be 60 degrees tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know what I'm doing tomorrow? I am cleaning out my garage so I can park in my garage for the first time in the 5 years that I've lived at my house. So that way I don't have to clean off my vehicle. Because I couldn't do it before because I had a teenager that lived in my house and I
Okay.
didn't want to argue who got to park in the garage.
She just let her.
Well, now I would have let her because I'm the pushover mom. So now I don't have to argue anymore because I'm the only one that drives. So I get to park in my garage and I don't have to wipe off my vehicle anymore in the mornings. And I just get to pull out of the garage and go right to work.
You want me to call you at 8 in the morning so you wake up and get an early start on it?
No, I'll be up because I'm going to the 10:10.
Oh, yeah.
Probably at 4:30 in the morning to get you up.
Yeah.
Sure will.
Sure will. So
She knows
never
this.
give that lady my number and never tell her to call me.
So yeah, so I'm going to clean out my garage tomorrow and I'm going to do some yard work because I have not done any yard work yet because I have a feeling it's going to snow soon.
All right.
So yeah, that's what I'm grateful for right now is the little things. Being a homeowner, you have to do these things.
Heck yeah. I'm glad I'm a renter, but I still have to do a lot of the stuff. Or I will. But Tim, what are you grateful for? I was going to kick it to the girls, but I seen you. I know, but you know, bam.
I think I already said, you know what? I'm grateful that I'm part of a podcast that allowed me to be able to dedicate a show to my brother. And again, happy birthday. You're missed. I'm grateful for my mama. I love that lady. I'm also grateful for my recovery. I'm grateful that we get to help people and that we have an outlet where if it's just one person, I'm all right with that. We find out telling someone they're loved. We find out telling someone they're not alone really makes a difference. Like when you run into someone and they tell you like face to face, like, thank you. That's enough. For me, that's enough. And I'm good today. Like I'm really truly blessed. I got new people in my life and I get to be grateful about that. I get to help people. I'm grateful about that. I get to today. I get to do a lot of things. And that's how I've been waking up, is having that mindset of I get to. Yeah, so with that, Liz, what are you grateful for?
Today, I am grateful I'm sitting in this room. I am grateful that I get to share my experience, strength, and hope with other people that I have the opportunity to share it, because it is a lonely place without other people that get what you're going through.
Yes.
So I am also grateful that I get to share this experience with my best friend, and that she has helped me come out of a difficult beginning of the year, and that we continue to push each other, and we have amazing people in our lives. I'm grateful for my dog. I'm grateful for the house I get to go home to. I'm grateful for the cookies I get to go decorate at 11:30 p.m. I'm grateful for the job that I have that allows me to do that. I have a lot to be grateful for.
Heck yeah. Candace, what are you grateful for?
The biggest thing, not just today, but every day, is clarity and peace of mind, because that was the worst. Just a mind that doesn't stop or is foggy or just, yeah. So clarity, peace of mind. That's all. That's the biggest thing, I guess.
Thank you, Candace. Hey, Matt, why don't you tell us what you're grateful for and read your quote?
Will do, Tad. So, what I'm grateful for this week, this podcast, the meeting I ran tonight for the hour and a half I got to run it for, this potential job opportunity coming up on Thursday that I have to go do an interview for. I'm really grateful for that. Really just like my family, my relationship with my girlfriend, like there's so much things I could list off, but there's not much time to do that. But here's the quote for you guys. For all things, for all reasons, express your gratitude.
Bam! And if we didn't have a bunch of other shit to do, that would have been a perfect place to end the show. But the executive producer is just telling me in my head, in my earpiece, in my head, that we have buzzer beaters and we have one final segment. That's funny because I'm the executive producer.
We
so.
do, but you know what? Let me just say something. Wait, I want to
No,
say
we have buzzer
something really
beaters
quick.
still too. Elena, go.
Really quick. So tomorrow, what's the date today? Yeah. So tomorrow night, if anybody wants something fun to do, there is a general meeting at 5:30, a speaker, or there's dinner at 5:30, a speaker at 7, and bingo at 9 p.m. at Blaine Allano.
I feel like you guys just had bingo.
We have bingo once a month.
Oh, we do now.
We do for the next two. We've had it the last 2 months, and now we have it this month and next month. So there is bingo tomorrow night at 9:00.
And I'm all out of days off.
It
for
is
the rest of the
18
year.
plus, so you do have to be 18 years old because it is gambling. You win
Sorry,
money.
Timmy.
So just remember that this is recovery. So if you are in Gamblers Anonymous, please do not come.
I got buzzer beaters first.
So we do not support relapsing. So yes, come on out to Blaine Allano and we can play some bingo.
Good.
So buzzer beaters, you ladies, just so you know, it's just a question, and we give a quick answer.
Top of your head. Boom,
Top
boom,
of your
boom,
head.
boom.
So, being on topic with today's show, what is a new boundary that you'd like to set in your recovery? And Elena.
Come on, quick, go.
I don't know.
All right, I don't know. Matt, get near the microphone. This is Tim. My boundary I need to set is distance.
I need to start knowing when to say no when it's healthy for me, no matter how I feel at the Allano Club that I volunteer at. Matt.
Really, for me, it's just like having my own self-care time on the weekends.
Perfect. Candace. Boundaries.
Okay,
Any
I
boundary.
got one.
I can't think of something. I'm sorry. Liz,
No.
go ahead.
Liz, go ahead.
I need to learn to stick up for myself and speak up for myself better.
Perfect. Elena, go ahead. What do you
Listening to myself more.
got?
Yes.
Perfect. Candace, do you want to try to get one in real quick?
No, I can't.
See, but
think of
some people-
That's why
Hey,
it's a buzzer
some-
beater. So
I'm
real quick, what
perfect.
I need to do is we're starting this segment that we did a few weeks ago when Tad was here last, is closing thoughts with Tad.
It's final thoughts,
Final thoughts with Tad.
like Final Destination. So.
What are the final?
When
We
Tad's
started a
here.
few minutes late.
When
so we're
Tad's
good.
here.
Well, I could always send you a final thoughts. I got lots of them.
Yeah, we
I
started
got
late.
I got 30 of them. So hey, this is Tad here, your friendly neighborhood tadpole, and check it out. Final thoughts with Tad today is going to be another simple one. I just want you to know that no matter who you are, what you're into, it's okay. If you're into comics and you're a nerd about comics, It's okay. If someone says they don't like comics and they make fun of you, guess what? They're a nerd about cars, and they get nerdy about cars. Or whatever, or rocks. So whatever you like, whether it's rocks, dogs, snakes, comics, cars, is okay to like. And don't ever let anyone make you feel. And this is a lesson that had I learned this at 13, I would have been okay with me, and it would have prevented me from a lot of things. I don't know what's going on with Elena, but I feel like she's doing something. But so like, this is really about self-love and being true to thy own self, you know? So no matter who you are, just be you. Be the best you can be. And if anyone criticizes you for that, oh well, let them. So, and with that being said, I want to let you know. Yeah. For instance, if you like Taylor Swift, just let people know that, hey, I'm Tad, I'm a drug addict. Taylor Swift is my favorite musician, and I don't care what you think about that. There's nothing you can tell me.
But you're never alone, and you are loved.
You're never alone, and you are loved. Hey, that's a true fact, by the way. Taylor Swift is my favorite musician. And with that, we're going to leave. All right?
Rah, rah. Thank you all.